28th of May is celebrated worldwide as Menstrual Hygiene Day, and this year the theme has been periods in pandemic. Now this gives us a good opportunity to open up the subject on menstrual health and discuss it, especially because many still believe it to be a taboo subject. You're watching The Diary on STV. Don't go away. You, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this week on The Diary. Our subject for today is menstrual hygiene. And like we explained at the start of the subject, it's because just a few days ago, the world was commemorating World Menstrual Hygiene Day. And we think it's important that we put this subject on the table because many still believe that it is a taboo subject. It's time for you to meet my guest. I'm going to start with, they're all ladies, so I'm going to start with the person sitting closest to me, Mafue Forchu. She is an advocate for gender equality, which makes you a good person, for a resource person for this subject. She's also the communication officer for Marzars, Cameroon, and she's the co-founder of Better Girls organization, which does a lot, I mean, activity-wise, to sensitize girls. Mafue, it's good to have you back on The Diary.
It's nice to be here. Hello, everyone. Hello, Manda. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. And sitting right next to Mafue, Madame Kemdem Salome, that you've seen on the show as well. She's a state-registered nurse. She's a midwife, and she works here at the Mboppi Baptist Hospital in the city of Douala. Madame Kemdem, you're welcome.
Thank you, Nanda. I'm happy to be back here.
Great. There's so much we're looking forward to. So we're going to jump straight into the subject, menstrual hygiene. I'd say when I was trying to get resource persons for the show, I realized that not everyone was comfortable talking about this on TV, and others did not feel like they have the necessary information to come sit and talk about it. And I was saying that it's because many people feel that it's a taboo subject. Mafue, do you agree with that?
I agree that it's true that many people think it's taboo, but I don't think it's okay that it remains a taboo. I think it's something which affects all the women all over the world, and so it's definitely a topic that needs to be discussed openly and not like treated like a secret or something.
Right. Yes. And Madame Kemdem, I'd like to get your opinion on the question. Do you think that it's okay for people to treat menstrual hygiene as a taboo subject, the kind of subject you only talk about in the house, you whisper about, you don't talk about it in public?
I think it's not a taboo because by treating it as a taboo, we are seeing the repercussion on our young girls in the community. So we really need to talk about.
But why is it so difficult for people to talk about menstruation, to even say the word? Why is it such a problem, Madame Kemdem?
You know, in those days, I don't know whether I can say in those days, when a young girl will see maybe her menses or blood, she will feel ashamed from that. So even the parents, the mother, will not feel comfortable talking about it, talking about the topic to the child, to the daughter. So I think that we need to talk about it.
Right. I agree with you completely. Mafue, was it difficult for you when you were growing up talking about it? Was it a subject that came easy with the family, with your friends? Or was it still, or did you have the same issues?
Well, I think I'm one of the few lucky people, because my mom, the first day I saw my period, she was like, it was really early in the morning and I was about to go to school, and I woke up and I saw it, and then she calls me in her room and she tells me, she talks to me about it. Don't be afraid, this is what it means, and all of that. But I realized from my experience with other girls that I see not everyone had that same education. Yeah. So some people happened to notice it among their classmates, and that was the first reaction they got. So you had this mix of reactions from those whose moms had told them something or the other, and it was mostly like, let's hide this, nobody needs to see this, this is really terrible. So my experience was really good, but I have come to understand that that is not the experience majority of people have. It's like it's like a wound or something, or it's like you're sick, and like you wouldn't even, I know some homes where you see your period and your mom will tell you even your brother or your sister don't have to ever know, so you have to hide, wrap your pad and hide it in, so it's like there's a lot of secrecy around it, but that was not my personal experience.
Well, the only thing I remember about the only discussion I remember having with my mom about this was when she told me, if a man comes close to you, you get pregnant. That's what she said. She just said, comes close. I mean, to the point where I thought if I stood too close to a man, well, that's a subject for another day.
Yeah. Okay.
You're the expert on the subject, Madam Kemdem, and just so we are clear, what is menstruation?
Yeah.
Okay. What is menstruation?
Actually, we need to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Menstruation is the process in the woman, a process of discharging blood and other material from the lining part of the uterus.
Okay.
This is from the puberty to the menopause. So the blood discharge from the woman from the lining part of her uterus every month from the puberty to menopause.
Right. So for how many days first, and around what age do girls start menstruating?
Usually it depends, but here in our context is in Cameroon, we have realized that as from the age of 9, usually most girls start having their menses. So as from the age of 9, a girl can start having her menses. Even up to 15 years. Yes, 15 years is not it. So the range is from 9 to 15 years.
Okay. Okay. And at that point, what should a young girl be taught? A young girl who starts bleeding, who starts menstruating, what should she know? And should the parents or the guardians or whoever is taking care of the child wait till the girl starts menstruating before they open the subject, or is this something that they should talk about with them before, you know, they even get to that point? Mafue, let me get your opinion on this one first.
I think it will be important for the child to know that this is something that would happen, because you don't know when or where it's going to happen for your daughter. So I think it's important that maybe they have an idea that they may not really understand it, but they should know that at some point you're going to feel this thing, and once you do that, you should let your parents know, or you should let your guardian or someone know about it. So I think of course you'd have to, there are different degrees of information, but I think it's important first that the children know that if I feel like this or I see this thing, I need to tell my mom, I need to tell my dad, I need to tell somebody. Yeah.
Okay. And Madam Kemdem?
Okay, as she's saying, I totally agree with her. We need to inform our young girls. I think this thing need to be part of the subject in school.
Yeah.
You know, because some parents really face difficulties for talking about it with her girl or her children. So for me, I think that the young girl need to be informed earlier before, because we don't know when it's going to start and how it's going to start. She should not be surprised somewhere by seeing some drop of blood on her pants. She may feel very uncomfortable, even afraid of seeing that. So I think that earlier the counseling is done, the better.
I agree. Now let's talk about menstrual hygiene. What's available to women and to girls who are menstruating to use. Now I was reading that in Africa, on the continent, not so many girls have access to sanitary pads. Not so many of them can afford it, and so they have to go through, you know, different means. Now, in your experience, Madam Kemdem, as a health worker, do you feel that difficulty exists in Cameroon?
Actually, the difficulty really exists, because on my practice, sometimes when I receive some women, when they are on their menses, what I see is really not good for health. You know, that's why we need to bring this topic up and really talk about hygiene during menstruation. So it's true that many women does not have access to sanitary pad, but there are other means, there are other things that they can use, and if they use it well, it will be good for their health.
Okay. All right. Now, before we get to the other options, let's talk about what's available there. The gadgets, we have sanitary pads, the ones that you buy every month. You have the reusable ones, you know, you can use multiple times. You wash and you reuse. And nowadays, I see a lot of people talking about menstrual cups and all of that. For you, I mean, it might seem like a simple question, but what's your go-to gadget?
My go-to gadget is the disposable sanitary pads, or in some extreme cases, tampons maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But like, I just want to add to what she said about the question before, because in visiting some of the areas in our country with my work, as part of my work for some NGOs, you realize that the women in this country use really weird things. There's some, the most extreme one I saw was like the inside of plantain tree or something.
Really?
Yes, like somewhere in the northwest. So it's really a topic, as she said, that we need to talk about, because we do these things unconsciously and then we have all the health repercussions after. Because when you ask me, for me it's easy to say, oh, I use the disposable sanitary pads because those go from like 600 francs to like 1,200, and that looks like a small amount for me. But when you think that in this country there are people who cannot afford to use 1,000 francs a month for their period, because if we have to go by how many pads you even have to use to be safe in a day, how often you have to change, it means you may need like a pack or two depending on your on your flow. And then you realize there's people who don't have 2,000 to spare a month for that. And so, like she said, we need to talk about this and tell them what's available and the different options, so that they're able to make decisions which would benefit them.
Right. I agree. Now, I've seen and heard of cases where because, you know, a woman cannot afford to buy the disposable sanitary pads, they use something like toilet tissue. As a health expert, is that a good thing to do? Is it safe?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. A woman should not use a toilet tissue to protect, to pat herself. Because when it gets soaked, those particles will remain and may go inside her vagina and cause infection. So that is not good. If you are bleeding, try and get a pad somewhere and pat yourself before reaching the house. Even in the hospital, you can pass around. You can pass somewhere and have a pad. Yeah, instead of putting toilet tissue, it's not recommended.
Okay. Now, for those who cannot afford it, who do not have access to maybe a nearby hospital where they can run to, how do they manage it? How are they supposed to be healthy during that period? Because it comes every month. How do they stay healthy during that period?
During their period, if they can't afford the sanitary pad, they can buy towels.
Okay.
Yeah, they can buy towel. If you go to the market, you can find a good towel, maybe at 500 francs or 1,000. You go back to the house, you cut them, you wash them very well, maybe with, you disinfect them. You can even boil water and put there, and you dry them. That is how you can use it. After every menses, every period, you gather everything again, you boil water, you put there, and disinfect them before you keep. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. That's such a good tip.
Yeah.
That could definitely help. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Now, another thing about those days, 3, 4, 5 days when a woman is menstruating, is you have to be clean down there, the V area. How should a woman? I don't want to ask a personal question. I'm trying hard. I'm trying hard not to ask a personal question. But during that period, what should be the conduct of a woman as per, you know, that area? How do you keep it clean? I was reading about the kind of underwear you should wear and how it should be clean, what kind of water, the temperature, and all of that. I'm going to go to, to you,
and I also want to add,
okay.
so she can answer as well. For the towel that we can use as reusable, this thing, is there a particular kind of material which is best, which you would advise?
Of course,
because there are different kinds of.
No, cotton is the best. Cotton is the best. Yeah.
Okay.
Even for pants.
Yeah.
Okay.
We usually advise women to use the cotton pants.
Right.
Yeah.
So about keeping the area clean and the kind of pants, because I saw somewhere that wearing pants that are too tight will not be good, because you know you need air needs to circulate properly, and if you wear on these that are too tight, that are not cotton made, it could not be very good, you know, for you.
All right. For me, what I know is that if you wear your normal pants, cotton pants, not too tight, because when it's too tight, the heat, you know, when you wear your pants in the morning, you spend a day. Because normally it does not have to make more than 8 hours on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this one also depends on the flow.
Yeah.
As soon as your pad is soaked, you need to change.
Okay.
If it's a normal flow, latest after 8 hours, you need to change. So when you wear your pants, it need to just fit you. You should not put a pants that is loose. Yeah, it need to.
It might
fit.
fall off.
It might fall off. So you need to put a pad that really fit you, and cotton pants. As soon as your pad is soaked, you go and change. You can change, and if you have, if you are not in the house, you have this thing. I don't know how they call it in English. Les bouchoirs imbibés d'alcool.
Okay.
That
wipes.
Wipes. Yes. If you have it, you can wipe yourself with it. If you are not in the house, maybe you are somewhere else, you wipe yourself with it and you change your pad. So if you are in the house, it doesn't matter. It's not much to go and clean yourself with water before putting it.
Just water, or can you use some soap because there's blood? Is it just water?
Just water. Just water. You know, vagina does not need any soap, any chemical.
Right.
Even to do our private toilet, we need to use plain water.
All right. Okay. And another thing with menstrual health is disposing of the pads. For those who use the disposable pads, sanitary pads, how do you get rid of those? Because you can't flush them down the toilet. That's not good. And I was even reading that they are not very environmental friendly. Mavi, how do you deal with that? It's those couple of days can be crazy sometimes. Men will not understand, but other women know what we're talking about.
Yeah. I usually, yeah, of course, you should not flush them down the toilet. That's like a recipe to spoil your bathroom. But I think like what we used to do in my house, we always had a pit. Yes. So my mom, I would wrap it properly and then throw it in the pit. But now in Douala, that's not
You're
very.
renting. There's no
There's
space.
no space. There's no pit. So you just wrap it as firmly as you can, and you put it in your trash, and you just Isakam just
I know, it's crazy. Sometimes
and there's always, you're always like
yeah,
it always feels weird to
let go.
dispose of.
Really? So I'm never sure where it's going to end up. People they're scavengers. They're always in the trash looking. You don't know who's going to stumble on it.
Yeah,
it's
so
never easy.
That is really something, like, maybe I would like to hear what she
yes, me too.
Actually, on the normal sense of that, you just have to wipe it, maybe in the plastic something. You can first of all take a toilet tissue, you wrap it well with it, and you take your black ribbon and you tie it. That's what I'm teaching to my children in the house, to my youngest in the house. So usually when they are on their menses, you won't know until they tell you that is that I'm on my menses. Yeah. So talking about the disposal of the sanitary pads after using them, we need to talk about the toilet how to keep our toilet clean for the
absolutely.
young girl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because it really matters also. Some girls does not really know how to maybe to keep their toilet clean after when they are on their menses. Yeah, so we need to encourage them that when they come to the toilet, they finish to eat themselves, they need to really clean it, check if everything is clean before they leave. Sometimes it's not even for young girls, because
sometimes for
yeah,
women
even in
too,
the office. Sometimes when you go to toilet office, as you can see some drop of blood there that somebody just came and finished and flushed. Actually, she flushed it, but she did not notice that some drops of blood went on the floor. So we just need to encourage ourselves, our young girls, to always keep the toilet clean when they're on their menses.
That's a good point, Madam Kemdem. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to talk menstrual health problems or menstruation issues. What are some of the problems that might accompany, or the common issues that women face as per menstruation? What are the common problems?
There's, in fact, there are many problems. There are many problems. Even beginning with me when I was young, I actually had serious problem when I was seeing my menses. I had severe low abdominal pains.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah. So thank God, I don't know what happened, but they told me that the thing actually disappeared when I started putting to bed.
Okay.
So that is one of the problem, abdominal pains, low abdominal pains. Some will face acne.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some will actually face breast tenderness. Really painful.
Yes.
It's very true.
Yeah. Some will have changing of mood. Some will be very anxious. Yeah. So these are some common signs that we actually see in young girls.
And I saw somewhere that we've talked about this before on the show, PMS, premenstrual syndrome. Yeah, that time when your hormones are going crazy, nobody understands what's happening to you. 1 minute you're hot, the next second you're cold, you're angry, all of that comes into play. And I was going to ask, during this period, shouldn't our husbands be understanding and comprehensive and supportive? You know, when a woman is going through all of this, because it's a tough time for a woman.
Actually, our husband need to understand that that is a normal and physiological process.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable. Thank God that is just for a period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, those signs are more severe at the beginning. For the first 2 days for the menses. Actually, when the menses are getting finished, the syndrome too are reducing. So they need to cooperate with their wife.
And Mafue, what's your experience like with PMS?
Well, I personally I have severe mood swings.
Yeah.
Like I'm so angry all the time, and of course lower abdominal pains, which. And yeah, so like I think I have a couple of these, but like she said, I think that's why it's important that the discussions and talking about menstrual health and hygiene should not be a topic only for women. It should be a topic only for men, because we live in a world together. So I mean, your partner or your brother or people in your environment need to understand that for 5 days or a month, this girl is going to be a bit crazy. She's going, and we need to, and I think it would help women as well to take better care of themselves. Because I think some of the time when you walk into the bathroom in the office and you find blood, that person was probably really scared. Maybe someone else walked into the bathroom next door, and because of that taboo, you don't want people to see that you're on your period or feel it. You don't have time to check, or sometimes someone will get her period will start, and because she's so scared that other people would see, you notice that like she remains on her chair all day
until
until maybe she has to call someone from home to bring her like a cloth or a change of clothes. But this is a really natural thing, and I feel that everybody around you should be able to understand it's not a nasty thing. Yes, the visual of the blood itself, or sometimes the odor, is not pleasant, but it is a naturally occurring thing.
It's health,
and it's it's actually proof that you're healthy and you're okay and you're fine. So I think we should be open enough so that everyone understands this, both the men and the women. So I mean, yeah, of course, when some of us have extreme mood swings, it's not really an excuse, but it's helpful that the people around you understand that this is a natural thing. Your hormones at this point are not balanced, and
you have the better of you. And let's pursue this angle. There's a talk about men, husbands or fiancés or boyfriends who run away from their their partners because they are menstruating. They can't stand the thought that there's blood and all, and they're not caring at all. They just it's like you stop existing for a few days and then they come back. Are you only good? Okay. I mean, that would hurt my feelings, wouldn't it, Madam Kemdem?
Actually, they don't have to run away. They have to be there. A partner is, I don't know. When they say when I say you are my partner, it means that you have to share everything with me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to share. So if I'm feeling bad, you have to be on my side.
Yeah.
So a partner needs to be on the side when a woman is on her menses or when she's feeling bad from the menstrual period. Yeah.
Personally, that's when I want all the massages. I want the foot rubs. Give me something nice and sweet to eat. That's how you support. Just like we've been saying, it's us too. And the better you understand the woman, the easier it is for you to get along during this period, and the more helpful and the more supportive you can be. Now, the conversation continues, and we've talked about so many things already. Now, you cannot talk about menstrual health and not talk about the menstrual cycle. We've talked about this on the show, but it's really very important because that's where the conversation begins with, when you're trying to help the young girls, the young stars to learn about. When you explain what menstruation is to them, you have to get to that point because that's the very, very important information. So I'd like for us to go back. Did you learn about your menstrual cycle in school, Mafue?
Well, of course, we had a superficial study of the menstrual cycle in biology, of course, like from 3 or 4. It was like GCE level information, but the actual proper understanding of my cycle, that was more a family affair. Yes, where they would explain to you that, okay, the first day, this is what is happening. The 14th day, between this day and this day. So like most of that was between family and nice health workers. I think people like Salome, they're the ones who always organize this. Explaining to girls your cycle, how to count, how to predict when your period will come so that you're ready with your pad and everything. So I think in class I didn't get that full information, but out of the class, between health talks and my mom, I was able to have like the full information.
Right. For those who might have missed it, who still don't know master it, here's your chance. Okay, here's your chance to learn, and Madam Kemdem is going to tell us.
We are going to talk about the menstrual cycle. Actually, the cycle begins on the first day of your menses till the day before the next menses. I don't know if it's clear like that. Voila. Most of the time, many women has a cycle of 28 days. That is what we mostly face on women. So when they have a cycle of 28 days, the ovulation period usually happens at the mid-cycle, so on the 14 days, as you were saying. But for other people who does not have that cycle of 28 days, If it's 21 or 30, there you will depend how to calculate it. So when the cycle is irregular like that, you need to be marking your menses every month on a calendar for you to come to a conclusion where your menses normally is supposed to start. So for a menstrual cycle, I don't know if I have to enter into the different phases. I don't know if I have
Of course, we have all the time.
So for the menstrual cycle, actually we have 4 phases on that cycle. We have 4 phases on the cycle. We have the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, and the luteal phase.
Right.
So the menstrual period, the menstrual phase, these are the days where the woman is seeing her menses. After that, we have the follicular phase. This is when the information is being sent to the hypothalamus in the around the brain, and the hypothalamus will give order to the pituitary gland to release the hormone.
Okay.
Those hormones now will go down around the ovaries and stimulate the ovaries. So the hormone that actually is the follicle stimulating hormone, the FSH. Voila. So when they stimulate the hormone like that, they stimulate the ovaries, not the hormone, they stimulate the ovaries, and the ovaries get mature and reach to the point of ovulation. That is the ovulation phase, where the egg is being released. If there is pregnancy, if the pregnancy occurs, the pregnancy will start growing from there.
Of course.
The implantation will take place into the uterus. If the pregnancy does not occur, that egg is going to be reabsorbed in the body. So after that period, you have the luteal phase, where the estrogen level is gradually going down, and the progesterone also is actually going down, and the other cycle begins.
Right. So that's how it works.
That is how it works.
Wow. Okay. Now, for a girl who is going to start menstruating in a few months, or who just started, who doesn't really master it, and they need like a calendar to work it out, how would you explain it to them simply, so they know when to set or how to time and know exactly when it's going to come? Because there are 2 different circles. There's the regular and there's the irregular. So how can girls very easily work that out?
As I earlier said, if your cycle is regular, it means that your cycle is 28 days. If you know that your cycle is 28 days, you put the date where the menses begins on the calendar. And you count 28 days on your calendar, and you go to the next month, you mark when it's supposed to start. Actually, it can start 1 day before or 1 day after.
Right.
So you need to be ready within that period.
Have a pad with you.
Actually, I encourage my young girls in the house to move with pad in their back.
Always.
Always. So when it happens like that in school, they can easily go to the toilet and pat themselves. So they need to locate at least the period, because the exact day sometimes the body can change. Even for adult people, you cannot predict that my menses is going to start this day. Sometimes only stress and depression can make you to even start bleeding earlier before the time. So, but around that period, you need to master the period where your menses is supposed to come.
Okay, and the same thing for irregular circles. You count that you expect within a particular, say, a range of days, and you imagine that, between this or this time, you're going to start bleeding. Another important part of the menstrual cycle is knowing when your not fertile. That's not the word. Period. Your fertile. Okay. Knowing your fertile period. Can we quickly go over that? I know we've talked about that on the show, but for those who might be watching, or might be hearing this on TV for the first time, it could be a good opportunity for them to learn as well.
Okay, and everything is based on regular cycle. When your cycle is regular, you can easily recognize your fertile period. If your cycle is a cycle of 28 days, you know that the midday of the cycle is your ovulation period. actually you have to keep 2 days before that 14 and 2 days after that 14. Yeah, so to maximize chances, we usually say 3 days before and 3 days after. That is for somebody that is having a regular cycle. But if your cycle is not regular, it's really a challenge, because that is what we are facing with women every day in the clinic. They want to conceive, but they are unable, because this month they have their menses on the 5th, the next month they come on the 15th, the other month they come on the 10th, and you know, sometimes the cycle is 31 days, sometimes it comes 29, after another one, 20, 25, all of that. So for somebody that is having this type of irregular cycle, she needs to mark her menses on a calendar for at least 6 months. When she comes now, we have our formula that we use to really locate the fertile period. If it's for conception, fine. She should go ahead and have her sexual activity and conceive. If it's to avoid pregnancy, she should avoid in that period. Because some people really want to use a natural calendar method as a contraceptive method,
which is dangerous.
They are unable. They are unable actually, because the cycle is irregular. Yeah, so we really have to work on that, for those 6 months cycle, to fix the client.
Okay, I'm just going to jump into a few busters. A few, myth busters. I'm hoping. Some girls say, because maybe their flow is too heavy, they double their pads. I read somewhere that it's not exactly the best option. What do you have to say about that? What's your take on it? Is it okay? Is it safe for a girl to double pads because maybe their flow is heavy, or is it safer to just use one and change ever so often?
It's safer to use one and change after. But actually, I can say that there are many types of pads in the market.
Good.
There are
I'm glad that we're talking about that.
Yeah. There are pads for heavy flow, light flow, and medium flow. So if you know that your menses usually are heavy, you can go in for pads for heavy flow. The lining are more thick, if I can say that. They are more line for heavy flow. So if you are using that one, I don't think that you have to double, because as you are doubling it, you are causing more heat in you. Yeah, you are causing more heat, and it's not good. Those heat like that can go in and cause a reproductive tract infection. So as soon as your pad is soaked, you change and you put a different one.
Right. And Mafue, are they? I know over the years, of course, you've had to use different brands, and we're not going to do any adverts or anything like that. But do you feel that some are better adapted to the situation than others, and have you had to change over the years?
Yeah, it took. Personally, it took me a while to settle on a specific brand or a specific kind. And like she said, there are different kinds. So because I know sometimes we don't take time to read what is on the pack. But if you read then and you understand your cycle, you'll be able to make a choice on which one works best for you. There are some parts that are actually longer in length for people who have a different body shape. There are some parts that are actually shorter, some thicker, some
really thin.
Some really thin. They'll tell you normal, normal, medium, heavy flow, and I think all that is important. So I think, and of course, like she said, the whole menstrual hygiene cycle and taking care of yourself, it would require for us to be really, really organized. You have to first, like she said, you have to mark your first day, your last day. You have to keep that cycle in mind. Then you also have to understand your body, and you prepare for it. So you may try a couple. There's some, I don't know, there are some pads that I've tried that automatically gave me itches.
Okay.
Even if they never got full before I changed them. So I mean, like everyone's skin is like with body oil. You'd have to find what actually works specifically for you.
Right, that's true. It's important to look carefully, Madam Kemdem, before buying, because adverts can deceive you sometimes. They'll tell you that you can keep this on for 12 hours and you'll still be dry and fine, but at the end of the day, it's not good for you.
I had the same experience with the type of pad that I bought some time ago. I did not really realize what was happening. You know, you put a pad when you are removing, at least, I mean, some type of hot odor. You understand? Some type of hot odor that you will hear from you. You will ask yourself if the thing is coming from you. So I'm thinking that we really need to look into it, into those parts before we are buying them. So sometimes they can actually cause more harm than good
there's
to
some
us.
there's some that don't even absorb. So it just remains there.
Okay.
And then when you take it off later, you just see the whole thing sliding. Like the pad itself doesn't absorb. Doesn't soak it up. So I mean, we really need to be careful.
And this applies to tampons too, not just pads. It's the same thing. I've been hearing a lot about some women and some girls saying they sell particular pads that help fight disease, infection, and if you use it, is better than the others. I don't want to call any names, but you know those names out there. Is that something you would recommend?
You know, we are not there to do publicity, but if you have somebody that have used that type of pad, it's not. There's no problem if you try it also. Actually, I've heard about some pad that when you put it, it can help you to prevent infection and even cure infection, some infection if you are actually having them. So I think that there are some pads out that are actually good.
All right. And the cups, I've never seen them except on TV or somewhere on social media or on the internet. I've never seen it like physically. Have you ever had to use those?
I have never used them, but I have had a demo done for me. I think someone who was selling it came to me and she did a demonstration of how it works. A
demo, like the shit.
No, she was just she was just explaining.
She was explaining.
She was just explaining to me how you put it and how it works and things like that. I found it really interesting, but I wasn't personally willing to try it at the time. But I mean, like she said, everyone may have to find something that works for them. Some people are get permanent itches from the towel paper pads that we use. So that plastic cup or the plastic reusable pad may be a good option for them. So I mean, I just think as long as you're making sure that whatever you're using, it's hygienic enough and it's not sending stuff back in. Then I think it's okay.
And Madam Kemdem?
Talking about the reusable cup, actually I've never seen. I read about it, but for me, I would encourage women to use that. As well as tampon.
All right. Please explain why.
Because when I actually read on it, I came to understand that we need to allow the blood to flow out. Because when you put the tampon or the cup, the blood is accumulating there, into your vagina, and you can have a backflow. Or if there is an infection that is setting there, the infection can easily go up. Ascending infection can easily go back into your uterus and to your tubes. So for me, the tampon or the cups, they are not good enough for women. We need to put our normal sanitary pad, allow the blood to flow out. When it's soaked, we go and change. Because for the tampon, you can put in the morning, you spend the whole day with it, and come back in the evening before removing, which is not recommended, which is not good. Because you feel yourself not dry. It's not, for me, it's not very
Like it's important
Good for
to change
her. It's important
your
to change.
pads ever so regularly.
Yeah.
You know, keep it there for.
It's
so
important to change.
Yeah. Now let's talk about dealing with the problems that come with menstruation, PMS, and all the others. How can a woman handle it? How do you reduce the pain that you feel, the cramps? How do you, I don't know, if there's anything that can be done about the mood swings, or how do you manage that period? How best can you make that period for yourself?
You need to prepare. You need to be ready.
Okay.
You need to be ready. Actually, you need to prepare your mind.
All right.
If you know that is something that happen every month, you need to be ready. But what actually release pain is ibuprofen.
Okay.
Yeah. When you are having the sign of your menses, you can start taking ibuprofen. Yeah, you take the ibuprofen earlier before. It's going to reduce the inflammation that is taking place, and the pains too can actually reduce.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
And Mafue, what do you do during that time?
For me, like I said, over time I came up with certain strategies. Like before, like 2 or 3 days before, I used to be like extremely bloated.
Yeah.
Like you look at me and my tummy would be like I'm pregnant. And I realized that for me, during that time, I don't take any gluten at all. It helps me. So, like she said, each person, but I also know that each person's body is different.
Yeah.
And you just have to observe and try what works for you and what doesn't work. Personally, I used to not like painkillers, but for some reason, my cramps are getting worse. I don't know why, but so now I have to. But before, just having a warm bath, or I used to have a warm water bottle, which one of my aunties so nicely gave me. So I'll just put warm water in there and put it on my lap, and then I'll be working, and I wouldn't like feel anything. So I mean, like, there's different things to try that may work for you. So for me, and the fact that I stopped eating gluten around my period, it just made me become used to it. So I wouldn't have any bread or flour or anything at all, and my bloating around that time will reduce. For the mood swings, I have no solution. Right. I just tell people I'm really sorry, but I'm irritated.
It is what it is.
It is. But yeah,
basically know yourself, and you know
what
works for you.
As I was talking about ibuprofen, some people can take aspirin. So there are many types of drug, actually medication, that you can take. Yeah. And we are talking about pharmacological management. There are non-pharmacological management that you can do also. Okay. It depends on what you feel that can help you.
All right.
Yeah. As you will say, the warm bath and all those things.
Crazy question. Menstruation and sex. What would you say to that? What would you say about that?
Personally, from what I've studied and what I've read, just the fact that the blood is meant to go out and not in means that, okay, that's probably not a right time for anything to be going inside.
Okay.
So I mean, like that's my interpretation of it. Some people have other options, but maybe like that was my understanding from my study, is that because, like she said, when I was reading, I realized that there may be some infections in the blood, and the more it's around or the more it goes back in, you have a higher risk of catching an infection. So it's just keep everything clean down there for a few days.
Right. Madam Kemdem.
It's really a difficult question.
I mean, yeah.
I think that normally during menstruation you don't have to have sex, but unfortunately there are some women that have to have sex during their menses.
Okay.
We have had some cases where a woman is unable to conceive because she's avoiding sex during menses. Their ovulation or their fertile period were during their menses.
Whoa. Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
So you had to tell them to try having sex during their menstrual period. But actually, if it's not the case, it's not recommended for me to have sex during your menses. Because when you're having sex, you have higher chances of infection, as you were saying. If your partner is having an infection, he can easily spray it on you. Remember, the menses is the desquamation of the lining part of the uterus. So there is a process, desquamation process that is taking place there. And your chances for getting infection are more higher.
Yeah. So for those husbands who are not very understanding, we pray that you have learned something today. For your wives, for your partner's well-being, it's safer to wait just a couple of days. Right. Okay, we hope that the message has the message has gone through. And while we're the subject on we are on the subject of infections, I heard that during that period, this couple of days, it's not exactly a bright idea or a good idea for a woman to sit on the toilet, sit for too long, or use like public toilets, because they can very easily pick up, you know, little infections.
Sure. As I earlier said, at that moment she's more exposed and more open to infection. And I want to add that even if it's not on her menstrual period, it's not advisable for a woman to go on public toilet and even sit on the pool. C'est comme ça qu'on appelle
the pot.
The pot. It's not advisable. You can go and stand because you don't know who have passed there before. You don't know how the toilet is being clean. So it's not advisable. When a woman is on her menses, she's more open and susceptible to get infected.
Right. If you ask most men, if you bring up the subject of menstruation with most men, the first thing they'll think about is seeing a woman whose dress is stained and feeling embarrassed. Is that something you've ever had to worry about? Have you ever been worried, like, okay, am I stained? Am I okay? Am I, you know, those concerns? Do you still have them? Because everyone has had them at some point. Every woman. Do you still have them?
Now, no. Of course, when I was younger, I'd be so worried. I'd be like checking my skirt every 10 minutes. Each time I stand up, I'll be asking people, check. Yeah. But I think I think with time, as you grow and you learn how to better take care of yourself, you're more confident when you're on your period. But also, I think I just had to remind myself each time that it's a natural process. So even if for some reason I get stained and someone has to tap me, even if it's a guy who says, "Excuse me, madam," so it's like you've stained yourself, I'll be like, "Oh, thank you," and I'll move to the nearest private spot and see how I can take care of myself. But so I feel like it's something that we need to teach young girls, teach people,
and young boys
as well. Yeah, because I also know some young some boys who are so afraid to tell you that you're stained. But like I need to know, so they need to understand that, oh, this is a natural thing. It's the same like when someone pours oil on their dress while they're eating, you easily point out that, hey, look, you have food on your dress. So I feel like it's something that we need to teach people to be open to talking about. It would happen every month for at least 25 to 30 years of your life. So you have to get comfortable with it and learn how to manage it. So like personally now, I really don't feel any embarrassment anymore. And like she said, when you know your cycle, you always have a pack ready in your bag. You have it's like when you're about to give birth, they always tell you prepare your your emergency kit. So like around that time, I always have like an extra shawl or something in my bag, and I'm like, okay, if it happens on the way, I'm like, okay, get into somewhere and you take care of yourself. So yeah.
Now, Madam Kemdem, you are the expert here. I imagine that at this point, it's no longer an issue. It cannot be an issue for. It should not be an issue for you anymore.
No, she said it all. We just need to inform our young boys, our husband, our brothers that it's not a taboo. If your sister, you see your sister that is accidentally stained with the her menses, it's normal to call for her and tell her that this is what is happening. Yeah, I think for me it's very normal.
Yeah. And it's important, like we've been saying, that boys are educated, that they get comfortable talking about the subject. They don't feel like, nah, that's something for the woman. A father should be able to be competent and capable of educating his young daughter or his young teenage daughter about, you know, what what menstruation is, what the cycle is, how, you know, how to take care of themselves during that period. It's important. It's like I was saying the other day, it should be a normal subject like every other subject that we discuss. It's health. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about before we go, there's this debate, you know, that has been going on, and people say that is as per the cost of, you know, the gadgets, the pads, disposable pads or cups or tampons or whatever gadgets women use, the price as compared to something like a good like condoms, you know. It's cheaper to get condoms, very much cheaper as compared to the pads that women buy. And the question is, having sex is a choice you make, right? You choose that I want to have sex, and okay, I want protection, so you go get it. But a woman who bleeds does not exactly choose. You don't choose. Yeah, it just happens. You're a woman, and that's part of your makeup. That's how you come, and you bleed. So shouldn't the prices of these things be reviewed? Like someone even said, pads should be free.
Sure. Yeah. Personally, I think pads is something that should be free. So if I have a choice, if I'm in a position where I have to make a choice that, okay, do I support a movement for pad, or do I support a movement for condom? I would choose pad first, because like you said, it's nature, and it's and being able to keep your hygiene during that time, which happens every month, is very essential to the woman and her health and her reproductive health as well. Now, of course, I wouldn't completely say condoms are a fight that we don't have to make, because there's also infections and STIs there, birth control. Yeah, there's also an important case there. But I mean, like when you look at the numbers, the number of people who cannot afford pad is definitely a lot higher than the number of people who cannot afford condom, because majority of the people who even need this pad, these girls worldwide, some of them are not, majority of them are not even sexually active. So that whole condom cost doesn't really affect them. But at the end of the day, you still have about half the planet bleeding every month for 4 or 5 days. So if we have to review costs and support a particular cause, because of course the people making pads, they're a business, they need to cover their cost. And when you look at even the material, it's more expensive to produce one pad than to produce a condom. But I mean, like, we have causes all over the world where people try to support the production of pads and thus give it free. There's many cases, like even in Cameroon, you have organizations who have made it their work to buy these pads, like get donations, buy these pads and share to girls and women for free. Or like she said, teach them about other options like using towels or the disposable ones, which are a lot cheaper. So yeah, I think for that, if I had all the powers in the world, I'd put it behind the pad, but but I don't.
Okay, and Madam Kemdem?
I think, as she rightly said, if there is a mean for our leaders to actually subsidize the price of the pad, it will be very great and very good for women's health. Because if you are taking care of maybe malaria, for example, to prevent malaria by sharing a mosquito net. At least we can do the same by at least giving the access to pad to women.
Yeah.
Because if you don't use the right pad or you don't use what you're supposed to use, you'll be exposed to infection.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, the complication of that will be more severe than what was expected. And I would say to the young girls or women that if they don't have access to the pad every month, to buy the pad every month, they should buy the towel, as I earlier said. They should buy the towel and cut it and use. When they finish, they make sure that they boil water and disinfect with it. When they are done, they fold it and keep maybe in something for the next month. Because sometimes you will see a woman sitting in the house, not able to go out because she does not have the means to pad herself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In some town villages, you see girls will remain in their house because she will not go to school because she's on her menses. She doesn't have anything to pad herself with. So we encourage women to really see on those things. If you don't have money to buy pad to your daughter, make sure that you buy the towel, you prepare them, you arrange them well for her. She can use 2 towels per day and actually wash it. By the end of the menses, the days of menses, she gather everything, she wash it, she put water, hot water there, disinfect it and keep it for the next month.
Right. Thank you very much. Before we go out, of course, I'd love to get your final words. Mafue, beginning with you on this subject. Anything you'd like to leave out there before we go?
Yeah, I think my main message would be that we should talk about this. We should share. I'm really grateful for people like Salome and all the women in health centers, because a lot of what I have learned has been from them. And we should make sure that this is not a conversation that is only for women. And we should try as much as possible to contribute to our various communities to help so many of these girls. If you find a girl or you know someone who cannot afford this, you should please do well to link them to a health center or the many organizations that are trying to reach out to these girls and help them with this materials for free, because I mean their entire reproductive health is also at stake here. So if our nation needs to grow, we need our young women to be fertile, of course, and menstrual hygiene is one of the ways that that will keep that. So I mean, let's keep the conversation going, and I'm really grateful to you, Manda, that you guys make platforms and keep this information out there. So we shouldn't stop talking about it. It should no longer be a taboo, and it should be for everybody.
Right. Thank you. And Madam Kemdem.
Okay, my last word will be that I want to encourage our sisters, our mothers, to talk more on menstrual hygiene, because it's really, really important for a young girl. Today, some women are facing chronic reproductive infections because of that. So we need to take it on the base, right on the base. And not only for women, for men also, because there are some young girls that does not live with their mothers or with a woman, but they live only with their fathers. So the father too need to take it very serious. It's not a taboo. Call your young girl, your young daughter, and talk about it to her. I want to call also upon the school leaders to really talk about it in school, also in class. The way the student, the girl have to dispose their part in the toilet. They need to teach them. Sometimes they don't have the opportunity in the house to be taught of. So, but in school, in class, they can take maybe 1 hour and share something with them, how to dispose their part in the toilet. Will be more grateful and more hygienic for everybody.
That's right. If you want to continue the conversation with Madam Kemdem, you can find her on Facebook. yeah, Salome Kemdem. Simply send a friendship request and have a chat with her. Or if you want to talk with her in person, go to the Mboppi Baptist Hospital here in Douala. It's very popular, very known. And, you know, ask for Madam Salome Kemdem. Sit down and have a conversation with her. She'll be glad to be of help to you. Maybe for those young girls who do not have anyone to turn to, they don't have any information, because usually when they turn to their friends, they don't always get the best of information. It's always better to get it from an adult and who's better than an expert in the field to help you with the information that you need. You can also get in touch with Mafue on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter,
everywhere.
and the name on Facebook is
Mafue Forchu.
On Instagram,
Mafue Gold.
And on Twitter,
Mafue Gold as well.
Right, so feel free to get in touch. And if you'd like to share your comments on the subject, well, go to Facebook, go to the diary, and of course leave us a comment, okay? We'd like to hear from you. Well, that does it for today. We hope that you're staying safe, and ladies, I hope that you're washing your hands and you're wearing your face mask.
Sure.
Everyone understands why they're just two guests, and you know, the distance, social distancing is important. We all have to stay safe. So wash your hands, wear your face mask, and avoid crowds, okay? Take care. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.